This is the extraordinary Amazon, home to 10% of the world's wildlife, as well as millions of people, including 350 indigenous groups. But the world's largest rainforest is under threat. Under Brazil's current president, Jair Bolsonaro, deforestation has soared. Illegal mining is at record highs. He and his supporters say the Amazon needs to be developed.
Nessas reservas existe grande abundância de ouro, diamante, urânio.
But the forest and its people are suffering, a traditional way of life forever being altered by miners and loggers.
Porque Bolsonaro ganhar outra vez, eles vão matar nós tudo.
Rival Lula has promised to end illegal deforestation and mining. But is he really the man to save the Amazon?
Perhaps this is one of the most critical presidential elections we have ever had in Brazil.
As Brazilians go to the polls, will who wins decide the future of the rainforest? We travelled to Brazil's Yanomami territory, right up on the border with Venezuela. It's the world's largest indigenous reserve, home to nearly 30,000 people who live as hunter-gatherers, as well as tens of thousands of illegal miners, a number that keeps growing. The remoteness of the Yanomami is what makes them so special, but also increasingly vulnerable. This woman is malnourished and dehydrated. The health centre's become a field hospital on the front line of illegal mining. There are new cases every day, old and young. Nobody escapes this scourge. Outside, a makeshift ward is full of patients with malaria, yet another disease brought in by outsiders and making the Yanomami sick. Marilina is one of them. Marilina's 2-month-old grandson has pneumonia. He doesn't have a name yet. Yanomami people don't name their children for several years in case they die. It's a very real fear. 5 minutes walk from the health centre, a polluted creek doesn't stop the children playing. The mercury used to extract gold in the mine upstream has poisoned these once crystal clear waters. Fishing and drinking here is now impossible. Jenny Valdo played in this water as a kid, but much has changed, not least the temptation for young indigenous to get involved in illegal mining.
É mais jovens que vão evoluir pelos garimpos, porque não tem escola nessa região. Tinha escola, quando eles estudam, eles ocupavam, eles estudavam. Assim, quando acabar a escola, eles foram sair pelo garimpo, para eles aprender alguma coisa, mas eles não aprendem certo, eles aprendem errado a fala dos garimpeiros.
And this is the mine that's causing their pain. Production in full swing, it's scarring the landscape and its people.
There are as many as 20,000 illegal miners working in the region. We've just passed one of the worst affected areas in the Yanomami territory. We couldn't land. Pilot said many of the miners are armed and he was worried they'd shoot at the plane.
In the past few years, monitoring of illegal activity in the Amazon, as well as budgets in the environmental and indigenous affairs departments, have all been slashed. Workers talk of a crisis. One health worker we spoke to didn't want to be identified for fear they'd get in trouble if they criticised how the federal government works.
Eu acho que a ação policial, a ação do Exército, a ação do próprio governo federal e a ação da FUNAI junto aos povos indígenas deveria reprimir o trabalho ilegal dos garimpeiros. Mas a gente tem que sempre pensar que nós temos aí mais ou menos uns 5 anos de garimpo. Se hoje você chegar aqui, fizer uma limpa e tirar todos os garimpeiros daqui, algumas tribos indígenas iriam morrer de fome, porque eles já estão habituados a trabalhar para os garimpeiros. Eles já não têm mais a roça, eles já não têm mais alimentação.
This way of life for the Yanomami hangs in the balance. As the campaigning draws to a close, Brazilians have a stark choice to make. Jair Bolsonaro, a man who wants to exploit the Amazon for economic gain, or former President Lula da Silva, once Brazil's most loved politician, then sentenced to prison for corruption, charges that have now been annulled, but his legacy is mixed. When it comes to the Amazon, though, his record is better than Bolsonaro's. Between 2003 and 2010, when he was last president, deforestation fell over 70%. Now, though, it's back at the level it was 15 years ago. Lula's made the Amazon a big part of his campaign, travelling there and meeting its people.
O planeta está a exigir de todos nós pouco mais de responsabilidade. Todos vocês sabem que eu acho que a gente precisa cuidar da nossa floresta, da nossa fauna, da nossa água, mas, sobretudo, a gente tem que cuidar do nosso povo.
For one of Brazil's leading scientists, these elections offer hope.
The political discourse of the current president of Brazil during all his years as a parliament member has always been go ahead, deforest, do some gold mining, do whatever you want. The forests have no value. We have really to change. We really have an opportunity now in the second round to elect a president that would at least attempt to stop the action of organized crime in the Amazon and seek a new development. Nothing easy to accomplish, but at least he goes in that direction. The current president goes in the opposite direction.
In the Yanomami community, Lula's the stronger candidate. Leaders here fear the alternative.
Se Bolsonaro ganhar outra vez, eles vão matar nós tudo. Nós estamos cercados com grandes os políticos que não quer saber, não quer respeitar. Então, hoje em dia, eu fico sempre assim preocupado que homem da cidade, ele não quer parar, não quer respeitar. De qualquer jeito, ele quer roubar as nossas terras.
Life here is far removed from the lives of Brazilians in the big cities.
Nobody I've spoken to here when I've asked them about the elections has a strong opinion about them. They say politics is a white man's world. But who gets voted in at the end of the month will have a huge impact on the future of Indigenous people here.
The miners are also part of that non-Indigenous world in the cities, but they make their way into the Yanomami territory illegally by travelling these dangerous rivers. Maria's bags are packed in this jerry can for when she gets the call for her next job. But she's scared to take to the waters again after her canoe capsized a few months back. Maria works as a cook at the mines. She knows it's illegal. She doesn't want to be identified. She's scared, but she has debts to pay. With the money she's earned, she's built a better house. But unlike many miners, Maria has her doubts about Bolsonaro.
Ele fez a campanha dele em 2018 dizendo que ia liberar o garimpo. Eu não posso dizer que o garimpo é ruim. Eu agradeço a Deus. Eu consegui construir esse barraco em que eu moro. Tudo tem me ajudado muito. Eu acho que ele, como presidente, ele tinha que incentivar que a economia do Brasil melhorasse e que o pessoal tivesse mais oportunidade de emprego, um salário digno para não ser necessário fazer garimpo.
These elections have shown just how divided the country is. When it comes to the Amazon, Brazilians have a choice between Lula, who's vowed to clamp down on illegal mining, and Bolsonaro, who in effect backs it. But in this part of Brazil, there's no question.
Bolsonaro wins hands down.
The police station's car park in the region's capital, Boa Vista, is testament to the booming mining industry here. These planes and helicopters confiscated from suspected illegal miners, some of them even prominent local businessmen. Mining is most definitely in this region's blood. In front of the governor's palace stands this monument, dedicated to the prospectors of the past. The current governor, an ally of Bolsonaro's, wants that tradition to continue.
Nós temos o direito de explorar nossas riquezas naturais em benefício das próprias comunidades indígenas, porque da forma que está hoje só fica o dano ambiental. E todo o minério também produzido aqui em Roraima, ele sai do estado de forma ilegal, não deixando nenhum tipo de imposto, nenhum tipo de tributo que venha compensar essa compensação ambiental que ela é causada pela mineração. Na Amazônia brasileira nós temos 23 milhões de habitantes. E esses 23 milhões de habitantes precisam trabalhar, precisam se alimentar.
It's not an argument that Indigenous lawyer Ivo Makushi buys. He says Bolsonaro's narrative emboldens illegal activity, and his job's been made much harder these past 4 years.
We are very afraid, we are want Lula to win because we would have dialogue with the government. They would listen to us, the indigenous peoples, because I experienced personally that during this government, we don't have even the rights to go attend a meeting with them. They says they don't want to listen to us because they are doing the right thing for us.
Bolsonaro has 24-year-old Danilo's vote. Talk of legalizing mining has made it easier for him to sell guns to miners to protect themselves. It's the money that drives him.
Eu não sei o dia de amanhã. Eu procuro viver hoje. A vida ela é sopro.
And so for you, the future, the climate issues, the future of the rainforest, the impact on the world is just not something that worries you?
Porque depois que tatuzão começa a trabalhar, faz buraco gigantesco, não dá para tampar. Não dá. É muito material extraído do solo. O índio, ele é mais safado que o garimpeiro. Todo o trajeto que você faz para ir para o garimpo, você passa por área indígena. Se você não pagar propina para o índio, ele não deixa você passar. Eu tinha uma visão, aquela visão que todo mundo tem. O garimpo faz mal para o índio, o desmatamento faz mal para o índio. Eu tinha esse pensamento humano. Mas quando eu fui vivenciar e vi que o índio faz parte do negócio, aí eu já mudei o pensamento.
It's a complex problem with lots of groups involved, many of them divided. The Amazon matters to us all, no more so than those living in the rainforest, many of whom are poor and just want to provide for their families. The solution is complex too, but as long as there's inequality, can the Amazon ever truly be protected? One of Lula's former ministers thinks so.
Não é o desmatamento que vai resolver o problema da pobreza. O que vai resolver o problema da pobreza na Amazônia é criar novas alternativas com a bioeconomia, com o turismo, com a biotecnologia, com a consolidação das áreas que já foram abertas para a agricultura sustentável, a agricultura familiar ou para o agronegócio. Mas não pode continuar destruindo a floresta, porque senão ela vai para o ponto de não retorno.
You left Lula's government over disagreements on infrastructure projects in the Amazon. So will Lula be that savior of the Amazon?
Eu acredito que o Lula hoje tem a compreensão bem mais ampliada de tudo que está em jogo. Em relação à mudança climática, o papel que a Amazônia tem para o equilíbrio do planeta, da América do Sul e para o nosso próprio país, e porque ele tem uma grande sensibilidade em relação aos seus povos originários e à própria riqueza e a beleza singular dessa floresta.
But back at the governor's palace in Boa Vista, the insistence on the economic value of mining is clear.
e os indígenas passam a ter uma rentabilidade sobre essa atividade e eles possam também melhorar a qualidade de vida deles. Ele quer melhorar de vida, ele quer ter um carro, uma moto, uma parabólica, um celular, uma televisão, um ar-condicionado. E para isso ele tem que produzir.
Will this be what the Yanomami community in the Amazon looks like in a few decades from now? There's no doubt competing forces in the Amazon are changing how they live their lives. In this vast rainforest, though, there's little hope that politicians can keep them safe.